All right, guys, let's just hop into it. I think today's going to be pretty quick and to the point. It'll be interesting because I see a lot of intermediaries on the call, which is normal, but we also have more traditional buyers. I mean, we've got buyout, and I think a lot of these search funders and fundless sponsors showing up week over week. We're having more of you. You're all trying to do the same thing. You're trying to source proprietary deals, and on this lunch and learn, we really talk about how to leverage digital sales and the social selling process to do that. And today's going to be interesting because I'm going to go through the intro and what we typically do, but I'm going to talk a bit about how to actually leverage intermediaries for your deal origination. Because quite frankly, we've seen that going horribly wrong this year. And we've seen a lot of, I want to say renewed interest, but really like a new uptick in interest in leveraging intermediaries to get that proprietary deal flow. I've talked about this for a while now on some of the webinars that I've done through the CBBBA and the IBBA, but also on these lunch and learns. This is a real thing. People are leaning on intermediaries for deal origination for multiple reasons, and we'll go through that. And I don't see that slowing down at all as we continue to move forward in this environment of uncertainty. Definitely don't want to get political, but if anybody watched that debate last night, it was just a cluster on all sides. So I don't think we're looking for any increased stability moving forward. And in the world of private equity deal origination, that certainly has translated into leverage intermediaries to hedge the risk of proprietary deal origination that started really as COVID hit, really once private equity got back into the fray, say in June after the strategics. And that's a trend that we're seeing across the board. So we'll go through that. Who am I? Why should you care? If it's your first time on the call, I run BN.Digital BizNexus. BizNexus is our tech platform for auction-based deal flow, and BN.Digital is our agency. We have tools and services that focus exclusively on off-market deal flow, proprietary deal origination. We leverage digital sales to do that, which is the subject of this webinar each week. Deal origination, leading into COVID, everybody was transitioning their budgets from analog to digital. This new world we're in has only accelerated that trend. It's my personal opinion that, especially as an intermediary, the faster you can get ahead of this, the more quickly you're going to separate yourself from your peers, from your business broker or intermediary competitors in this environment. And if you can do this as a search funder, if you can do this as a private equity deal sourcer, you still have a lot of people who are really attached to the in-person networking strategy, which just doesn't work at the top of the funnel in this environment. Those break bread meetings, the relationship is always going to matter. It's just you want to leverage the types of tactics that we're teaching here on a weekly basis to automate the initial part of the conversation, the top of the funnel. If you're not familiar with that term, we'll touch on that every week. But you want to try to have as much information as possible about your prospect and vice versa by the time you actually have that in-person meeting. That's a scalable process. That's a process that works in this world. And a lot of the stuff like Zoom meetings, now that people are comfortable doing this, even if we had a vaccine tomorrow to a degree, that's not going to come back. People have realized how efficient this can be, and societal norms, industry norms have changed. It's acceptable to do these meetings on Zoom, where pre-COVID it just was not. So what's the point of everything we go through on these calls? It's to get the cup of coffee. I'm skipping ahead a couple slides. We had these slides reorganized. Everything we talk about here with the social selling process, we are talking about building a network of your target prospects, your referral prospects, nurturing them, making them aware of who you are, what you do, what your goal is, getting them comfortable with you online as much as you can, to the point of that conversation, to the point of the break bread conversation, the cup of coffee, the proverbial cup of coffee, which could be a phone call, it could be a Zoom call, it's whatever that engagement conversation is for you to get your prospect from being an online relationship, over into a real world relationship, a valuable business engagement. The 5 stages we talk about here each week, optimizing your profile for your end prospect, right? Does your online brand clearly address the needs of your end prospect, or is it all about you? Targeting. Targeting is just, in my mind, the most interesting area because it just changes so quickly in terms of what works, what doesn't. But targeting your end prospects and your referral prospects, making sure that you're not screwing that up so you're not wasting time in every other stage. And then building campaigns for each target, very specific campaigns for the business owner, right, who you're trying to get after, the financial advisors, the accountants, the lawyers, whoever those referral prospects are, individualized, specific campaigns that speak exactly to your target. That's what converts. That's what gets the engagement. That's what brings your prospects down the funnel. And then nurturing these prospects on an ongoing basis. Really, these lunch and learns have been just us teaching you tactics for doing this on your own, right? LinkedIn posting, the best way to do that in front of the qualified eyeballs, the newsletter, the ongoing warm drips, nurturing your prospects to familiarize them with your brand, who you are, offering the social proof so that they're comfortable that you are a qualified authority in your specific niche, so that you can bring them down the funnel to capturing, to converting, to getting that cup of coffee. Funnel, very briefly, think of it as just different stages of the relationship. At the top of the funnel, you have the introduction, right? Exchange business cards. This is who I am. This is what I do. Enough said. From there, you get your prospect to kind of drop their shields. They, have you in their Rolodex, so to speak. And so you begin the process of education, of nurturing, of enlightenment, letting them know who you are, what you do, how you do it, how your services, how you're offering clearly fits with their pain points, with their needs, down to the phone call, down to, hey, let's get lunch and talk about how your services can fit with my needs. Let's talk about, in the case of a business owner, what my exit options might be if you and I got into an engagement. Let's begin that process, and then you just transition over to the sales funnel. So updates. Not going to dig in too deeply on this. Digital Sales Marketing Hub, we're on track with that. We're starting to roll this out to our beta clients this coming week. First week of October is what we've bogeyed, and so we're busy, but we're on track. The wait list, I will put this in the chat again. That is, I'll drop that in the chat at the end of our presentation, just so you can sign up. We've had more signups than we can handle right now, so we are rolling this out to our current clients first, and then we'll open it up to people who are not currently clients of our agency. And then I'm going to talk briefly about the broker module, because that fits right into our topic for today: how to leverage intermediaries for your deal origination process. If you want to access our services, BizNexus.com. Again, that's the auction-based deal flow. That's our tech platform, BN.Digital. There is no .com, BN.Digital. That's our agency. You can also access that directly through BizNexus. So today we're going to be talking about building and nurturing, right? How to leverage intermediaries to build up your deal flow. And this has been, especially with fundless sponsors and search funders, there's an ocean of these new buyers out there, and we only see that growing really over the next 12 to 18 months. We're going to have people who, like, with every layoff, with these corporate run-ins, these people who have had successful careers to date, but maybe don't have faith in where their career trajectory is going over the next 20 years with their current company. You have a lot of these people who are exploring the concept of entrepreneurship through acquisition, right? Of entering this world of acquisition through, through this world of entrepreneurship through acquisition, through becoming a first-time buyer. We also have a lot of strategics who just, it's their first go-round. Companies that want to buy a company, they know it's a good play to grow through acquisition, so they're looking for competitors. They're looking for target acquisitions that might fit the bill, but they just have no industry experience. Both of these demographics are increasingly turning to business brokers to supplement their deal flow, if not provide their deal flow entirely. So seeing this trend, we have made some changes here. This week we had a product release in BizNexus, as we do at least each month. And I'm just going to sign in as a buyer here. so I can show you what we're talking about. So when you're a buyer, you sign in, you see your homepage, you've got your deal matches, you've got trending content, and then we also have our, I'm gonna have to, bear with me here for a second. Clear my cache. There we go. So this is the new release, all right? Deal matches, trending content, resources for your deal origination. Today we're gonna focus on this module at the bottom of your screen. We'll be moving this higher because it is increasingly important. And these are suggested intermediaries for your deal flow. We have always based this on your acquisition specifications. So, you know, location, industry, and our algorithm will show you brokers from there. What we've done now and what we're going to increasingly refine, and for the intermediaries on this call, let this be a lesson. This is what it looks like if you don't upload your photo. Michael here is going to be much more likely to get a click through from one of our buyers, from one of our sellers, from one of our business owners than Whitney or Alan or Dean. It's just low-hanging fruit that people are missing by not adding your photo, and we will be prioritizing photos over non-photos for the next release. So if you haven't done this basic information as an intermediary, get on it because you're definitely missing out on the matching process. But back to the buyers and deal origination. So what you can do is choose your industry, right? Whatever your industry of focus is, and we're gonna have to cycle through all of our professionals. So it might take a little time here. And choose your location. And you can go through and pick out your business brokers, right? The ones who match your industry, who match your location, reach out to them. And I'm going to go through the process of how you should leverage an intermediary for your deal flow. Just know that this tool solves that problem for you as you build out your pipeline. So keys to using an intermediary for your deal flow. Why this is such a valuable resource for any buyer out there, whether you're a first-time buyer or strategic or private equity. Again, intermediaries are out there sourcing proprietary deal flow on a commission basis. That means they've gotten really good at making a living getting these businesses, vetting these businesses, right? They're not going to go out and make a bet on 10 companies that probably won't sell. They're going to try to prioritize the ones that are sellable. They're going to offer a level of accurate pricing, because if they price it too high, the company won't sell. If they price too low, they're not going to get the appropriate commission. So business brokers are very good at gauging an initial price, right? I mean, obviously in negotiations, you're going to determine the price and the terms, but in terms of providing a range of where this deal should fall, business brokers do that work for you on the front end, right? They also hedge the risk, right? Again, because they're good at weeding out the sellers who are just looking for a valuation, who are not serious, who might have unrealistic expectations, of doing the initial vetting so that if there's any hair in the deal that might prevent a transaction taking place, business brokers, a good business broker, is going to do all of this for you when they bring a deal to market. So it's my opinion that a good intermediary, a good business broker, is invaluable to the transaction process, and that will always be the case in this industry. So when you're looking to use intermediaries for your deal flow, don't spray and pray, right? I think you want to figure out what your acquisition focus is, and if it's geographical, maybe you get a couple of business brokers who are really great in your area. Maybe it's just one. And if it's by industry, same thing. But don't just blast your acquisition specs out to these brokers, because it's getting very, very noisy out there, and it's not going to be effective. So we see a lot of new buyers wasting brokers' time, kind of abusing their expertise, trying to pick their brain about the industry, spending a lot of time on a call with the brokers. You want to be clear, you want to respect the broker's time, and you hopefully prove to them that you're a serious buyer on call number one if you reach out. And I do recommend a call, not an email, and I'll get into that. When you reach out to a business broker, they're going to want to know a couple things, right? Um, are you a serious buyer? What does that mean? Do you have the money to make an acquisition, or do you have investors who have clearly backed you, who have the money to commit to that acquisition if you find it, if a broker finds it for you? So if you have committed capital, if you're a private equity shop, you want to be prepared to talk about that relationship. If you have limited partners who have backed you, just be prepared to go through that and really sell the broker on who you are and why you're a serious buyer. If you have your own personal money, get an accountant to write a letter. If you don't want to offer bank statements, get a certified letter from your accountant, and that 9 times out of 10 is going to be good enough for an intermediary, for a business broker to show that, hey, this is someone who I should take seriously. If you don't have those assets, get it from one of your investors, get it from one of your backers. Make sure that one of your committed investors is at least going to an accountant saying, this investor has at least $10 million of net worth and is, and that's it. Really, it's just, this is your investor. You prove that the investor has backed you, and you show that they've got at least 10 million of net worth, and more often than not, that's going to be enough for a broker to take you seriously. But if you walk in and you don't have any evidence of committed capital, the brokers are increasingly aware that first-time buyers, that fundless sponsors, that search funders can be huge time wasters. And as that awareness continues to grow, search funders are going to have a real problem getting these intermediaries to take them seriously in an environment where this is an increasingly critical source of deal flow. So again, when you're on the broker, or when you're on the phone with the broker, make sure that you're focused with your acquisition search, right? Why are you calling them? Is it because they have a certain niche? Like on BizNexus, you searched a niche and that broker popped up, so you reached out? Is it because they're working in a specific area for the same reasons? Make sure that they know that you're focused when you're calling. And one thing we see a lot of, and I'll show you on this next slide, there's a lot of email reach out going on, right? Clearly, just, I think there's some platforms out there that are promoting this. There are some training programs that are promoting this just to blast every broker in the IBBA with an email about your investment specifications. That's absolute garbage in this environment. Brokers are becoming increasingly deaf to these types of emails. They're not going to hop on the line with you and just waste their time when a broker's time is their most valuable asset. They want to spend their time wisely. So it's a traditional industry, whether you're talking about a conversation with a Main Street business broker or a lower middle market intermediary. They traditionally like to do business on the golf course. They like to network. They like to go to events. They like to have lunch. This is a traditional industry, and a phone call will go a long way. So I recommend, instead of doing the spray and pray emails, identify a few brokers, check out their LinkedIns, do some homework, and lob in a call and try to develop a valuable relationship that can last over the course of your acquisition search or your career. And again, make sure that your LinkedIn, your website, your social proof, your online brand clearly speaks to the fact that you are actively searching for an acquisition. That's just what we cover every week here. So this is an email that I got just this morning. I'm not even a business broker. I just run BizNexus, but I get these things all the time, probably just because I'm a member of the IBBA and I'm an A-source, and people are scraping these sites right and left. I'm on that list. I shouldn't be, but I get, I'll get a few of these things a week at least. And it's just, hey, Adam, hope you've been well. Just checking in to see if there are any new 2 to 7 EBITDA opportunities you're representing for us to consider attaching our brochure as a refresher on our criteria. There was no brochure attached. It's okay. It's not bad. But again, if you're going to do this, it's okay, right? You can do it. Just be aware that this is going to fall on deaf ears 9 times out of 10. Identifying a few brokers, right? Going through and searching the lower middle market intermediaries on a BizNexus, or in the, maybe not the IBBA for 2 to 7 EBITDA, you probably want to go to M&A source. But you're trying to identify the intermediaries who are actually going to be in this wheelhouse. I'm not an intermediary, right? There's clearly no targeting. Again, going back to the beginning of this social selling presentation, of this lunch and learn, targeting is everything. And this targeting is clearly off. I'm The only reason I read this email was because I knew I might want to use it for my presentation today. So a phone call, a phone call, a phone call, that's going to separate you from the rest of these search funders, from the rest of the funnel sponsors out there who are trying to pursue this strategy, which is clearly being pushed by some of these accelerators. Who should be on your deal origination team? That's another question we're seeing a lot of. Obviously, the intermediary, right? That's my first stop as somebody looking for a business. You want to develop your roster of your close roster of intermediaries, like no more than 5, ideally. Top of the funnel, who should be on your deal team? Ideally, if you're working with an agency, again, in my opinion, it should be industry focused, right? For intermediaries, for buyout, we see a lot of people getting burned by going with digital marketing firms who don't know the vernacular of business acquisition and sale, who just don't know the industry, who look at a business owner as if they're a click or a conversion. That's not the case in this industry. It's a very high value prospect. It's a relationship. Somebody who will be giving 10% of what they built over the past 30 years. You need to be very careful at the top of the funnel to not burn that prospect. Not only that, you have to assume that 90% of the people that you approach for proprietary deal origination strategy, they're just not going to be ready to sell their company, right? They're not going to be ready for what you're offering today. With the best strategy out there, these people are just not going to be ready for that. So you don't want to burn those contacts because they might be ready for it 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. So you want to make sure that you're not burning your brand at the top of the funnel. So, ideally you're working with an agency that knows this, that's focused on the industry and is not going to burn that contact. And if you're working with a VA, I recommend the same, right? Before you put your VA out there, if you're working with a fresh VA and you're kind of teaching them from the ground up, make sure that their calls have clear scripts, make sure that their emails are written by you or by an agency, but don't let them go off the reservation, because again, at the top of the funnel, you don't want to risk burning those prospects. Tools that work at this stage of the funnel: direct email, LinkedIn, direct mail. Ideally, you should integrate all of those. So they should not be separate in their own silos. You should have clear data for your LinkedIn, for your direct mail, for your direct email. That's all linked, so you know what prospect has been touched by what they've been exposed to, how a prospect has engaged with your marketing outreach at each stage. Middle of the funnel, this is where you want to get more engaged, in my opinion, right? So if you're out there posting on LinkedIn, unless you've got a really talented admin, that can go wrong when people outsource this. But just a little bit of posting goes a long way. If it's you, if it's your brand, again, very, very important that you've got an agency, a VA, an admin who is familiar with the industry and how that works. Warm email nurture workflows, landing pages, webinars, LinkedIn articles that show your bona fides, show what you're talking about, help to support the evidence that you are a qualified authority in the area of business acquisition and sale. That's going to help nurture your prospects and bring them down the funnel to the bottom of the funnel, to conversion, to commitment, right? And that's where you or a business development rep should be going for that close, right? Whether it's a sales email workflow that they get entered into, that should be automated through something like our sales automation hub. If you do a Zoom, making sure that you have a follow-up. If that's you on the follow-up and you're lobbing a call in, you have a clear reason to call somebody. Their shields are completely down. It's a great opportunity for conversion. And then really engaging with whatever CRM you're working with, making sure that you're setting tasks, reminders. If you're working with VAs here at the bottom of the funnel, again, just make sure they're not going off the reservation. Make sure that they're an extension of you. Because if you've gone through the whole process of nurturing prospects at the top of the funnel, to the middle of the funnel, to the bottom of the funnel, you do not want to blow that by just outsourcing the last 10 yards to a VA. We see a lot of people making that mistake. VAs have to be closely managed. Just be careful. So that's it for today. Hopefully this wasn't a waste of time for you intermediaries who are on the call. But if anybody has any questions, this is definitely the time. Otherwise, we'll just let you guys peel off, and we'll do this again next week. We send out the survey for feedback. So if you have any, please let us know what's working, what's not working, what you'd like to see. That helps us guide these lunch and learns, and quite frankly, that's what helps us guide the releases, the dev product updates for BizNexus. So we love feedback. Be free with it. We have thick skin. Don't pull your punches. So I don't see any questions here. I'm just going to move on and enjoy the rest of your week, guys. We'll see you next week. Hope it was valuable.